Coming up week of 2020, we will likely, I hope not, but we'll likely look back on this day and say to ourselves, you know, we had a chance to speak up and keep our speech free, but we didn't. We didn't stand up for Julian Assange. And as a result, he probably gets convicted and put away for the rest of his life for journalism. And that sets a legal precedent so that anybody else who gets arrested for revealing crimes of the government, automatically they can take that in court and say, oh, look, the precedent is he did this, and if you did the same thing, then easy, slam dunk. That's the precedent. Now, if that's the norm, who's going to step forward? Who's going to blow the whistle? Who's going to speak up for those who need to be spoken for? Who's going to stand up for our rights when we can no longer speak? When we are censored? When we are blocked? We're getting all of our free speech rights yanked right out from under us. And if Julian Assange gets prosecuted or dies, nobody will ever come forward with anything again, rendering free press useless. Because it's not free. It's not free if people are going to prison for life for it. It's not free. So I hope that the bulk of us don't have to look back on today and say, I could have done more that day, but now I can't even speak up. I can't even speak up at all because there are no rights. The First Amendment is gone. There are no rights at all. We cannot defend any of the other rights if we don't have free speech. Yet, most have remained silent about Julian Assange, who was persecuted, innocent man, got demonized for doing Russia stuff, which he did not. He had nothing to do with Russia. Look at Bill Binney interviews. He had nothing to do with Russia. He had nothing to do with Russia. So, what did he do? Well, he revealed war crimes. And what did those war criminals deal with? Nothing. No investigation, no arrests. Murdered, 2 or 4 Reuters journalists. And nobody was held to account. They should have been arrested and tried, even if they got off, even if it was, fair and they made a mistake, whatever. They needed to be held to account. That needed to be answered to. And instead, they arrested the person who turned it in, the whistleblower, Chelsea Manning, and the person who she gave the information to, Julian Assange. And both of them, she's been in prison ever since on trumped up charges, like really just bogus. And I guess what they're holding her on right now is like contempt because she refuses to testify against Assange. She refuses to make a statement that incriminates him. And that for that she's staying in prison until she learns that she needs to change her mind about what really happened. And I'm sorry, but if that's what really happened, she's not going to be still sitting in prison over her convictions not to incriminate him. She's doing that because he's innocent. Why else would she do that? There's no other reason she would do that but to stand up for the right thing and do probably the most patriotic thing that we've ever seen in this country. Because she chooses to stay imprisoned after all this time and all for doing the right thing. She could just turn on him and sign a statement saying that he did things that he didn't do, and they would let her out. She stands by her convictions. Chelsea Manning's a hero, and so is Julian Assange, although not an American hero, even though he's been tried in America from another country. That's empire, and the darkest side of it. So he is where we lose our rights. It starts with him. I'm not saying that he determines it, but not only is he the if they set the precedent with him, nobody will step forward, and the press will be effectively shut. They cannot do journalism anymore, or they won't. And if they won't anymore, then they won't expose other violations of our rights. And we're already censored heavily. So it's a matter of very short time before we lose our free speech. And some argue it's already gone. But I still hold some hope because I'm able to make these videos and they don't get completely erased all the time. Although if I'm talking about anything real, it's important, it's not in the mainstream news, or even if it is, if it's about war, if I made money on these, I would get demonetized. But since I don't, I do it out of passion, I can get away with a little bit more. But that's pathetic that they do that. That's not right at all. To allow the mainstream media to have impunity with whatever they broadcast and to be so critical of what independent journalists say is just, it's fascist. It really is. Make it stop. Take care.